comments there. So Dheeraj, as the veteran in retailing, having worked in Macy's and Bed Bath and Beyond and some of the most leading retailers, to now a completely different assignment, which is creating communities, which is what Shrishti does. How do you see in communities consumers evolving and coping to this, this world, which is actually morphing the two worlds of brick and click?
I want to answer this question, but I want to say something else, which was my panel were discussing just prior to this question. See, even in the US, I'll tell you, the percentage of online sales or web sales is still, it's less than 20%. It's only about 14%, okay? So I mean, if that's happening in the US, which is considered the biggest retail market in the world, so that can just kind of tell you, yes, what has happened is certain categories of products. Now these categories which are standardized, for example, electronics or white goods, those have taken, web has taken it, thanks to Amazon and other portals, that a lot of electronic chain stores have gone out of business. I mean, the biggest electronic chain store like Best Buy had to also come out with their own e-portals to compete with it. But when it comes to, I think, apparel, people want to be entertained, okay? They want to interact, they want to touch and feel, and now especially because the products that they are buying, they're pret-a-porter, I mean, they're buying it from right from the rack. The sizes, because they're made in different countries, they don't adhere to exact sizes. So what I would say is, still the brick and mortar stores are 100% there to stay. Okay, yes, the internet will take a small pie out of it, but again, mostly standardized items, things like computers or things like electronics. That is the kind of stuff that you'll see. Even goods like furniture and all that would not be sold, and people have tried it. Okay. Coming back to India, I mean, the organized retail is still only about 7.5%. Okay, out of 7.5%, if you look at it, how much of that out of the 7.5 is on the web? Minuscule. So I mean, in the larger macro picture, I think for India as well, and I think that's going to happen. What's happened in the US, that in India as well, people will buy their cell phones and electronics again on the web for other things, unless they are getting big brands at half the prices. Okay, which does happen in India, but there's a lot of gray market also in India, which a lot of online retailers had to deal with. So coming back to it, so I think we are still in infant stage as far as web or technology-based retailers. Now coming back to the original question, as a community, see, I think, right from the shopping malls, the idea of a shopping mall was where people come together as a community. Okay, where people, you meet your friends, you meet your family, you enjoy together, you eat together, you shop together as well. So that's the sense of community that a shopping mall creates. From the current assignment that I have, from that perspective, my current organization does entire infrastructure solutions, which means they start from townships. And when I say townships, you are talking about everything that constitutes an integrated township. So right from roads to schools to hospitals to power, generating power, how to take care of the waste, all of that kind of stuff. So when these new townships are formed, which is a fairly new thing happening in India, and a lot of developers are doing that, I think shopping or shopping malls or consumer buying is also changing with that. A lot of like-minded people are obviously buying into these townships. So you get similar kind of profiles, people with nuclear families and all that. You'll see them, and then eventually you'll see them forming, communities. Yes, I'd say real communities as well as web communities on Facebook or whatever that we are from this part of, we are in DLF phase 2 or whatever. So those things are happening, absolutely, and it is changing how India thinks, and also the population, us being 30 years and younger, 50% of the population, I mean, that's just adding to it. So I think that's what I had to say. Yeah.
Thanks, Dheeraj. So coming to Manoj. So Manoj is from TCI and he's the supply chain guy. He moves the goods. So Manoj, from your perspective, when you see these worlds, I'm sure you deal with retailers who are online. You also deal with retailers who actually run brick and mortar stores. And you've heard the consumer viewpoint from the three retailers, including Dheeraj, from a community perspective. How do you see the future of logistics evolving and shaping in order to meet those needs which our retailers have and consumers have?
I think the retail evolution rides on the back of the robust supply chain management. If you see the companies which are successful globally in retail space like Walmart, Zara, they have a very robust supply chain. Even various famous case studies made on their supply chain, how they use supply chain management as a differentiator in their industry. And basically, supply chain logistics work as a glue between supplier and retailer. And with consumer revolution happening, we are also experiencing in India, the supply chain management and logistic need to be fragile, more fragile. That is what need we feel. And beside that, we are seeing a change in the trend. The lead time from ordering to fulfillment is reducing, whereas the product mix is changing. Mix is becoming more complex, and number of frequencies increasing, and number of items are reducing. So these are the trends from our standpoint, which are getting the supply chain a lot of supply chain very complex. We are managing a warehouse space of 10 million square feet across India, across various industries, retail, FMCG, consumer goods, and aftermarket. And we are fulfilling about 1 million of order every day. So what we see is that use of technology is very crucial in supply chain space, WMS, HST, beside honing of the processes as a whole. And with e-commerce, the complexity further goes up, where you have more spread of movement, and lot size further becomes very small, 1 to 2 units per delivery. So what I feel is that from between logistics and retail companies, there has to be a partnership approach. Partnership approach is a crucial from retail industries to have with logistic company, so that there has to be, they have to see from the standpoint of efficiency over the cost, so that your efficiency can be used to drive down the cost in the longer term. But many people doing it other way, so this may not be win-win situation for everybody. From long-term perspective, that is what I feel should happen.
That was a good sales pitch to the retailers for sure. So coming to Rohit. Rohit, I think Manoj spoke about technology and the importance of technology in integrating the pieces of supply chain. And I think Genesis is a slightly unconventional company in that sense. It doesn't cater to the top-end retailers, but more what I would say the real retailers of India, who have really found a niche and a space. Right. So what are your learnings in terms of implementing technology with some of these uncommon retailers who have uncommon sense,
So, yeah, representing Genesis, which is, taking the rest 93% as when I said to the organized space, 93% of retail to the organized space, that is what we do. And we're dealing with around 400 odd brands and retailers across the country. So we get the diverse viewpoints and requirements and funny requirements sometimes. But what really is unifying is that they all want to reach out to the customer. They all want to tap into this young urban and semi-urban mindset. But and they are all developing better customer facing applications, websites. They all want to get onto the web. They all want to have their own e-com site as well. Some of them are doing it with Shopify, Magento, Marjack, etc. Some of them are doing their own exclusive sites. But the basic story where I think that there is still a gap between Indian retail versus retail outside in developed countries is that the retailer is still to connect, create a brand story which connects, resonates with the new generation, the more connected, interconnected generation which is more digital savvy. So they like stories and they like to know what is the story behind the brand. So it's not necessarily that I would just buy a Titan watch just because of it tells me the time and it's available on a certain price point. Yeah. But there's also a certain story behind that watch, which is probably why the new ads for Titan are doing quite well. So if you kind of, also just technology is not sufficient. You need to have a story behind that as well. That's the basic thing that I think everyone should focus on, because that's the core of what you are and what you do, right, and why people should buy from you.
Great. So just wrapping up, I think, so thank you everyone. So I think we had some interesting comments from Vinay in terms of how omni-channel, the word which Vinay used is actually a reality today for shoppers, and click and collect and stuff like that really happens. I think Rahul clearly set the concept of the value consumer. I think India, the structure of demand in India is in Australia at the top of the pyramid and a flattish kind of a structure below, where people are also there right at the bottom. And if you have to conquer India, you have to conquer both these worlds. You can't do it just by being in one space. So great points on value retailing. I think Dheeraj really said that brick and mortar is right here to stay. And having seen US retail for a long time and now in India, I think very interesting point on the community and the impact of virtual communities and real communities coming together. And I think these communities will have a definite big influence in terms of buying behavior, especially in closed communities. I do see them influencing, peer pressure is big in India. We all have what we call as bhed mentality, so we all like to be like a herd and try and buy one thing. So we clearly see that influencing. I think the entire concept of a fragile supply chain, how can we actually make sure that supply chain is fragile and really therefore agile to some extent, to make sure we are responsive is becoming very critical, and that's something which Manoj pointed out. And I think I really like the idea, Rohit, of storytelling. I think the fact is technology is there, but it's only an enabler. But what really makes retailing so exciting is when there is the associate and the customer, and the magic has to happen between the two. It's the story that really makes the entire experience very immersive. So storytelling becomes very, very critical and important, and technology can really be an enabler in storytelling. So great. Any questions? Any questions from the panel?